Hey, Uriel Kame here, registered holistic nutritionist, author of the Diabetes Debacle, and professor of Super Nutrition Academy. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about obesity and diabetes. And specifically, we'll be talking about type 2 diabetes, but this would probably apply to type 1 to some degree as well. So, what is the correlation between being obese or even overweight in many cases and type 2 diabetes? Well, this beautifully laid out diagram will help you understand this. I've made it as simple as possible for you to understand, so bear with me here. Okay, so we have our overweight individual over here, and this is kind of like a kind of zoomed in look at what's happening inside the body. So what we have here are a number of fat cells, okay? So these fat cells are these round blue things over here. And within each fat cell, we have a hormone called HSL, or hormone-sensitive lipase. So why this is important and how this all ties in with obesity is because for some reason, people who are obese and overweight in a lot of cases become insulin resistant. There's obviously a number of theories as to why this happens, but one of the main theories is that in order to become overweight, in order to get overweight, it's a simple, it's more or less a straightforward equation. Too much eating, not enough activity. And in a lot of cases, it's the wrong foods that are being eaten. For instance, refined foods, processed foods, a lot of sugar. And these are all foods that are going to increase the amount of insulin in your blood, because when you eat high glycemic index foods like refined carbohydrates or sugar, that's going to spike your blood sugar, and as a result, your pancreas, which is an organ around here in your body, produces insulin and secretes it into the blood. Insulin is meant to take glucose or sugar out of the blood and put it into the cells. Now, if insulin is always high, if there's always high amounts of insulin in the blood because of eating these types of foods, you get basically what happens is you develop something called insulin resistance. Okay, your cells become resistant to insulin, so they no longer accept, they no longer recognize insulin, no longer is able to bind to the receptors on these cells. And what happens then is that sugar is not able to come into the cells. Right? So now you have high blood sugar, and that leads to diabetes. Okay? Does that make sense? It's a simplified version of how it works. But the problem is that this high level of insulin, also known as hyperinsulinemia, is very, very highly related to heart disease. I'm going to show you how all this works. So we have the individual who's overweight or obese. They have high levels of insulin because their body no longer is responding to it, okay, the cells. And what that does, high levels of insulin stimulate HSL, hormone-sensitive lipase, ironically, to break down more fat into its components, free fatty acids and glycerol. These free fatty acids are kind of depicted here, and in order for the body to use free fatty acids, they have to go to the liver first. Now, specifically in this process, these free fatty acids are sent to the liver, and your liver is really the workhorse of your body. It does over 500 different metabolic functions, filtering, detoxification, everything, okay? So the free fatty acids are sent to your liver, and when they arrive there, what happens is the liver starts to turn them into glucose molecules, ironically, right? So now the free fatty acids are being converted into glucose or sugar inside your liver. Why this is a problem is because when the liver starts to convert things into sugar, there's a number of different enzyme pathways and kind of things at an enzymatic level that happen as well, is that this sugar leaves the liver and increases blood sugar levels even further. And the second thing is that a lot of that sugar is actually converted into triglycerides. Now, if you know anything about triglycerides or have heard of them before, you'll know that triglycerides are a big marker, a big risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And that's was one of the reasons why heart disease is responsible for 75% of all diabetes-related deaths. 75%, okay? There's a number of other reasons. I mean, sugar obviously corrodes your arteries and creates inflammation and all sorts of, bad stuff there, but just within this kind of pathway, getting high levels of triglycerides in the blood is a very problematic thing. And it all starts because the cells are no longer sensitive to insulin, which is a hormone that is responsible for taking sugar out of the blood in the first place. So what do? You know, if you're overweight or obese, if you don't have diabetes, maybe if you do, well, I'm going to assume that you do have type 2 diabetes for a second. The first thing I want you to know is that it's completely reversible, no matter if you just got diagnosed yesterday or 10 years ago. It's completely reversible through diet and exercise alone. And there's a lot of garbage out there, and I'm talking about within the medical community, because your doctors are not telling you this stuff. They're not educating you about what you need to know about what's happening inside of you so that you can make a more informed decision. See, the doctors, and I have a lot of friends who are doctors, so I get kind of a first-hand experience with this, they only know what they've been taught. And what they've been taught is, you have a problem, here's a solution. The solution is a Band-Aid solution, which is a drug in a lot of cases that is very, very damaging to your body. And I've prepared a report called the Diabetes Debacle, which shows you exactly what doctors don't want you to know about your diabetes. And specifically, I'm going to talk to you about 5 specific interventions that the medical system is using on hundreds of millions of diabetics, and it's obviously not working. Because 1 out of every 3 Americans is being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes now. Kids as young as 10 years old are developing type 2 diabetes, when previously it was considered an adult onset disease, usually at about 40 years of age or older. Now we're seeing it earlier and earlier. There's a reason for that. And I'm going to show you how to reverse this disease, as well as what your doctors don't want you to know about diabetes. Because, again, they don't know what they don't know. The doctors are not, most medical doctors are not well versed in nutrition or exercise. They're well versed in a lot of pharmaceuticals. So that's what they know, no fault to them for that stuff. But as a natural practitioner, as a holistic nutritionist, and as a world-renowned fitness and health coach, I've helped 65,000 people and counting overcome diseases like this and live their healthiest life ever. And I want to help you as well. So if you want to grab a free copy of this report, just go to diabetesdebacle.com. The website's right here. And you can grab it over there, and some more great free education for diabetics. Why am I doing this? Well, personally, I'm on a mission to help 10 million people by 2018 live healthier and fitter lives, and I want you to be one of them, because in all honesty, a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with nowadays is kind of induced, they're lifestyle induced, right? And obviously I'm not saying that this is completely your fault. In a lot of cases, it's actually due to other than the pharmaceutical companies, the food manufacturers, and a lot of these fast food companies that are allowed to get away with, I consider, murder for putting out the foods that they're putting out, and really making you addicted to a lot of their products. They're not even foods anymore, they're products. So anyways, I hope this video has made some sense for you, showing you the relationship between obesity and diabetes, and I want you to know that you can reverse it. I'm going to show you how, but again, grab the Diabetes Debacle report. We'll get you started with that, and a ton more free education to help you overcome diabetes once and for all. Because if there's anything you get from this video, I want you to understand that there is hope, okay? It's completely reversible if you do the right things, and you don't need to be using crazy medical side effect, laden intervention. So once again, thanks for watching. I'm Uriel Kame. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the healthier side.